Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Hi,
Hello. This is episode 6 of the Dungeoneers Podcast.
the Discussioneers.
The Discussioneers.
Where we keep the discussion going.
For 6 whole episodes now.
Oh, son of a bitch! You're not supposed to open with that. You're not
We
supposed
got
to
it
give...
in the opening. We got it in the opening.
No. This is bad.
I was
This is
going to do
really
it
bad.
at the break when we come back from the break.
Yep. So, welcome to Discussioneers. Once again, we have a little bit of a change of plan. Because we had some availability issues last week, we were unable to get to the discussion of the monk and barbarian subclasses and the recent Unearthed Arcanas. And since then, there's been another Unearthed Arcana drop that we are going to be discussing on today's episode. And of course, getting into the monk and whatnot next episode.
Hopefully, unless they surprise us again.
I'm sure they will. So yeah, we have another new Unearthed Arcana to talk about today, you guys. This has
cranking
to do...
these things out.
They're
So
busting
it's like
these out.
talk. That's the soft way of putting it.
But that's the we predicted before, and this just kind of goes to show that there's clearly something big in a upcoming, probably really soon announcement in Wizards' near future, and I think we're gonna get a whole bunch of new proper subclasses, but whether or not these ones that they've been releasing make the cut is who's to say. Definitely some of them I think need some work, but you can find all those discussions on previous episodes. Today, before I hand it over to Bryce to kind of get the flow of everything going, I just want to let everybody know that this fighter, rogue, and wizard discussion we're about to talk about has to do with a bunch of psionic-based subclasses, which is interesting. The first we've seen of the lineup, I think, the Aberrant Mind had some psionic abilities and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's not the first, but yeah, it's some new shit.
So it's gonna be interesting, and I just want to give everybody a fair warning, all the viewers, all the watchers, that not only does this, well, first of all, this document not only has subclasses, but there's some new spells to talk about as well. But I just want to let everybody know. At least I can speak for me and Bryce. I think Nate too. I'm not really sure. I haven't really asked your opinion, but we'll find out in a minute. But we probably are going to be unhappy. We're probably going to be very unhappy for the majority of this episode of the podcast because I don't think we like many of these options. So, Bryce, I think I've talked enough of this long-ass intro. Why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, for once, it's not just going to be me that's upset.
Yeah.
I swear, we all love D&D. It's a fantastic game. But getting to things, we're starting with the fighter archetype, the Psychic Warrior. Beginning at 3rd level, you gain Psionic Armament. You can channel your psychic power to magically augment your prowess. When you finish a long rest, you choose whether to augment your defenses or your strikes. For if you choose your defenses, you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage. You can use your reaction to roll a d10 and reduce the amount of damage taken by the number rolled. When you reach 10th level, this increases to a d12.
Okay.
If you augment your strikes, you once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature, you deal an extra d4 psychic damage, and when you reach the 10th level, this increases to 1d6.
Okay.
I mean,
these are pretty minor.
Bad?
These are pretty minor. I think scaling it with the other option. I think the other options are just more fun. I mean, like the Battle Master has a bunch of lists of things you can do. And even like the Arcane Archer, like their 3rd level Arcane shots just kind of hit more of a punch. I guess this is a continuous thing rather than a limited resource, so I guess that's okay.
Yeah,
but
like
yeah,
the one you only have to use your reaction, the other one just every strike.
My issue though is I feel like
or
there's a
not every
disparity
strike, but-
between the damage that you reduce versus how much extra you deal. I feel like the d10 you reduce it to should be brought down to like a d6 and then maybe a d8.
The tool
Yeah,
we
this
used, the tool we used on this podcast previously, we had these nice little subclass comparisons. So we're kind of as a pre.
It's not available right now.
Yeah, as a premise, it's not available as this podcast is going live, which is unfortunate. So that being said,
luckily though, Wizards of the Coast does make books.
Little do people know,
I do have the books here. I just don't want to read them through.
There are books.
Yeah, I have them.
Yep, they do have books
They're
out.
over there. They're over there.
exist.
I just don't want to flip
I will
them right
say you are right though. Like Battle Master, they have their I think it's the parry ability where you reduce damage by a d10. So there are things that do similar stuff, but those are limited resources. I think you
Right,
get
so
3 to start with.
I don't have.
Well, this is just you can always use it. So
I don't have the chart
that's
up.
why it needs to be brought down.
Right. We don't have the chart up, so it's hard to kind of compare and read. And I showed up to this podcast like minutes before we went live, so I didn't have time to go through those
Right
books.
on
But
time.
I don't have time to do the math. But just going off memory, I just feel like it might be a
I'm
little
looking through all the
overwhelming.
maneuvers right now. And yeah, there is the parry, which is you reduce it by your superiority die plus your dex mod.
So it's
Yeah.
slightly better.
I mean, but I think like you said, Bryce, I mean, it's just one of those things that your Battlemaster stuff are gonna be more effective, but that's because it's a limited use thing,
Right.
versus these are just all the time. So I mean, it might be balanced. It on first glance it looks underwhelming, and it might be less fun, but it might be the math might be balanced enough. So I'm not sure.
I mean, again, compared to I feel like the dive. I think the damage is fine. You're basically getting like an enlarge, which only affects one attack rather than everything. Which
That's right. It's once in each of your turns. That sucks.
But keep in mind, you do have the brute fighter. I just realized, which their whole thing is they add a D4 to everything they do.
Right.
But that's just like straight damage. It's not psychic. So
also, the augmented defenses is for other people as well. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
So it's you or anything that you can see within 30 feet of you. So
that's a big reason why
better
I think
than
it
the
needs to be
parry.
reduced. I definitely think if it was reduced like a D8, I'd be happy at least to start with, and then up to a D10. I'd be fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, 3rd level though, you also get telekinetic hand. This is kind of a recurring thing with the subclasses.
You're gonna see this a lot.
Gets this. You learn the mage hand cantrip and can cast without components, and you can make the spectral hand invisible. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for the spell. Which does that matter for?
I think it's one of those things that
Mage hand?
I think if like you were ever in a situation, which I don't know if there's like proper rules for it, but I've seen other DMs do it, and I think they do some wordings to future-proof certain things. But like, say you're trying to do some sort of contest with your mage hand, you would use your intelligence bonus, in that check.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't. The spell itself doesn't have a proper ruling on that, but like for some reason, if you're in a situation where your DM was like, I don't know if that would just work, maybe you need to make some sort of ability check by using your mage hand, then that last line just lets you know that you use your intelligence for that ability check. Your brain is what's doing the spell.
As nice as it is to give a cantrip to a fighter, the only ones being like Eldritch Knight, obviously. I do not. I think the Eldritch Knight get a cantrip, right? I've played a fighter wizard, but it was a literal fighter wizard. I didn't actually make it a Eldritch Knight, so I don't remember specifically on.
Yep, you get 2 cantrips as Eldritch Knight.
I figured, because you usually get Booming Blade and stuff. But I don't like this because every one of these subclasses, I believe, gets this ability, and it weighs heavily on the Arcane Trickster Rogue, which their biggest thing really is the fact that they get this invisible mage hand to do rogue shit from a distance.
Now, granted, to that point, the Arcane Trickster cantrip is still a little bit better in the sense that you can still maneuver it as a bonus action, whereas you don't get that particular portion in these spells. It's still a main action. You just make it invisible.
It's like they had an idea for a feature and they're like they couldn't figure out how they wanted to do it, so they're just like, just give him mage hand and reflavor it as like being able to do telekinetic stuff.
No, for
That's
sure.
exactly
I think
what it
instead
is.
of being like, oh, you can have this kind of amount of like material that you can shift X amount. It's simplest as just mage hand, but to like your point though, BB, like in practice playing like Davos, for instance, when have you ever used mage hand in combat versus out of combat, where whether it's an action or bonus action doesn't really matter?
And I mean, for that example, not really, but I mean, eventually you will, because an Arcane Trickster Rogue can use your mage hand to like do the help action and stuff. So eventually you can do it. You can use it to like give yourself advantage and shit. So like the Arcane Trickster, once you level up some, is going to have an incredible amount of use for it. But until then,
I get you.
Yeah, that's true, because you can just help yourself and get advantage.
My issue is not with the fact that it's an invisible mage hand. My issue is exactly what Nate just said.
Yeah,
is that it's weird. Basically these are psionic classes. That's subclasses, excuse me, and they are just basically making psionics a spell, which, in my opinion, just needs its own class anyway. But yeah, exactly that. Like the idea of it is you're using an invisible mage hand, and you are the point is just having some sort of minor telekinesis. You're using your brain to do it, right? But the fact is, rather than just like either writing their own spell of the sort or
it's really
writing out the
weird.
ability,
Almost
they're
seems
just like
lazy.
it seems a little lazy to me. It feels lazy to me. It really does. I know what they're going for. I guarantee you, you wouldn't have a problem. Nobody would have a problem if they wrote out this ability that just basically did the effects of Mage Hand, but it was just basically a minor telekinesis. Nobody would care because they're like, oh, I understand what you're doing, right? But just because they worded it, you have the Mage Hand cantrip, it just feels lazy and meh.
Yeah. At 7th level, you get Strength of Mind. As a bonus action, you can telekinetically lash out at a creature you see within 20 feet of you. The target must make a Strength saving throw against your DC of 8 plus proficiency plus intelligence. On a failed save, they take force damage equal to 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier, and is telekinetically moved 15 feet directly toward or away from you, your choice. On a successful save, it takes half as much damage and isn't moved. You can use this number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. You gain this all on a long rest.
Okay.
I mean, I think that seems pretty fine. I think it's a little underwhelming, honestly, compared to some other stuff.
It's kind of nice that you can pull somebody towards you and then just beat them up, but
I mean, I've seen it. I can't take credit for this, but having seen it online, and I have to agree with it. But this fighter is basically a Jedi. this fighter is basically a Jedi.
Yeah.
He just has the Force. He just has the Force.
Which I'm kind of okay with, though.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Anyways, continue.
I think that's overall fine, if perhaps compared to some other.
That's at 7th level.
Yeah, for 7th level ability, that's not terrible. I mean, it's guaranteed damage one or another. It's bonus action, which unless you're dual wielding, isn't going to be used all that often. So yeah, sure. 10th level, you have telekinetic bulwark. When you take the attack action, you can forgo one of your attacks to project a bastion of psionic power in a 10-foot radius around yourself. It lasts for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. For the duration, you and your allies in the area gain the benefits of half cover and have advantage on strength saving throws. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest or until you use second wind.
Okay.
Again, fine.
Halo
Oddly
bubble
enough,
shield. We're Halo now, guys.
Coming off of Rune Knight, I am very happy that this is a fighter that I'm not super against.
You don't think it's OP?
Not in the Rune Knight sense.
That's
I
true.
mean, you're getting half cover, which is nice. The thing is,
how big is
the concerning thing about half cover in this sort of scenario is it seems like even if they're in melee, they're gaining this benefit, which is kind of a big deal. Because let's see.
Yeah, I mean,
1/4 cover, whatever is 2 AC, isn't it? Half cover.
Yeah.
See how little I actually use cover that often.
Half cover is 2 AC. 3/4 cover is 5 AC.
That's what I'm thinking. So plus 2 AC and also to dexterity saving throws. But I mean, for a 10th level ability that you get
half cover, half cover it's dex save too. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, and because it's just you gain the benefits, you're not behind anything. I assume even in melee and whatnot, you just have that. So you have a +2 bonus to AC. So you basically are.
Yeah, that is kind of weird that it works for melee.
Yeah, I
guess if it was
idea.
just missiles, it would be almost useless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're getting a free shield on everyone during this.
It would stack with your shield essentially. It's
with a shield, you're gaining the benefit. It's 2 dex saving throws and advantage on strength saving throws, which is admittedly fairly uncommon.
It's not a terrible ability. I mean, compare it to fucking the 6th level aura that a paladin gets when you add your charisma modifier to all saves for people close to you, right? Like it's like that shit can be super effective especially when you're running as a DM running monsters that are more effective when you're having players failed those saves. So
Yep. And
That's
also,
huge.
10-foot radius isn't huge. I mean, you kind of have
No.
to sit on another player to actually like make sure they're getting the benefit. Otherwise, it's just kind of your own little buff, but it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to 15th level, you get Agonizing Strikes. Your attacks can channel Psychic Agony. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can deal 2d10 psychic damage to that target and force it to make a Constitution saving throw against a DC equal to 8 plus your Proficiency bonus plus your Intelligence modifier. Unless the save succeeds, the target falls prone and it suffers disadvantage on ability checks until the end of your next turn. Use the number of times equal to your Intelligence modifier regained on a long rest.
It just seems I don't like this because it just seems like, you know, you're getting a psychic damage ability at 3rd level, and then you're getting another psychic damage ability at 15th level. It just seems like something else could have been done that would have been more fun. I don't know.
On top of the fact as well, at 7th level, you get the strength saving throw ability that does force damage, and then you're going on to this, which is now a Constitution saving throw. Like, there's a lot of doubling up on stuff.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't know. Like, so overall, I guess we can jump into. Oh no, that was the last one.
One more.
That was the last. Okay, no, there's one more.
Yeah, there's one more.
I mean,
I don't know what else you would do though. It's a psionic subclass. Like that's what you're doing.
I get it.
You're using psychic.
Here's one. Why not like being able to throw your weapon, like to go with the Jedi thing, like throwing a lightsaber,
and like have it come back.
Yeah, like, or just have it like fling with enough force you deal like force damage or whatever, like something, right? Now,
yeah.
It is. I mean, it's nice. I think it's useful, but again, it's not anything super cool. You basically like just have. It's like I think Thundering Smite's what I'm thinking of, where you smack someone to do the extra damage, and then you have a chance to knock them prone.
Right.
The disadvantage on ability checks is interesting. That means that you could feasibly attack once, get this off, and then try and grapple them, and they would have. Well, does prone doesn't give you disadvantage on like ability checks anyways, does it?
No, I don't think so.
Just being prone? I don't think so.
I think it's just deck saves and getting attacked easier for melee.
Right. So yeah, so that means you'd have an easier time trying to grapple someone once you've kind of beaten them down with this, which could be useful.
I mean, it's no
limited,
different,
so it's not crazy.
Yeah, it's a limited issue. It's really no different than like having, again, if we compare it to like Battlemaster with their superiority dies and being able to like do extra damage or doing some sort of crazy thing. But the thing with this is first of all, it's long rest limited, not short rest limited, and again, it's useful. I don't think it's not balanced. It's just, like I said, it just seems maybe a little boring. I don't know. But then again, I guess, to that same converse point, the Battlemaster, basically you just have abilities, and then as you progress in the class, it's just basically, choose more abilities or have more dice,
Is it as boring as the champion fighter?
Well, nothing can be more boring than the champion
exactly.
fighter. Yeah. That's just boring.
There's nothing more boring than champion fighter. But like, keep in mind, especially, I have a player in the Friday game that we have now. They're a Battlemaster fighter. They have a lot of fun with the flavor of all their different abilities.
Sure.
Getting to be that like super skilled fighter that like there's a certain amount of flavor in that's enjoyable, even if it's maybe on paper not like super special. You still have a lot of options to flip between. This is just you're getting more ways of dealing damage. Basically, you have a bonus action damage dealer. You now have like an extra smite that you can use occasionally.
Yeah. Even if you do try to flavor it, it's like, I hurt your brain and you fall down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 18th level Psychic Dreadnought. The power of your mind suffuses your entire being, making you a nigh unstoppable force on the battlefield. Using a reaction when you take damage, you can give yourself the following benefit for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. You start each of your turns, or at the start of each of your turns, you regain 10 HP. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet, and if you fall prone, you can stand up by spending 5 feet of movement. Once you activate this feature, you can't use it again until a long rest.
Well, the big thing is that health regen, which, there's no concentration here, so that's an effective 100 hit points that you're going to be able to gain. So that's huge. It's a level 18 ability, so it's supposed to be able to do something cool like that. I remember that most fighter 18 abilities are nothing like super extreme, so I know that this is probably on par.
Champion level of 18, you also regain hit points at the start of each of your turns.
Really? So it's a reused. I did forget about that. You're right. So it's not the first time it's been
only 5
done.
plus your con mod, so
Which I mean, still
10.
could be pretty good.
Right.
10
you
at
know,
most.
if you 10 at most.
Right.
So on average, this will be better. Yeah, you say effective 100 hit points, but we all know battles never last more than 5 or 6 rounds. So you're really only looking at 50, 60, maybe 70.
Sure.
To be
At
fair, though,
18th level, maybe you're pushing a little bit more rounds because you're fighting gods and shit. But
to be fair as well, though, the champion fighter is arguably kind of better. It only activates when you're below half health, but
Right.
it's permanent. If you're
Yeah.
you're always
It's
going to
just
be at least at
happening.
half health.
yeah.
No matter what. While this is out of combat, you'd be like, hey Jim, punch me. Deal 1 point of bludgeoning damage with unarmed strike or whatever, plus their strength, and then up plus 100 HP.
Right.
Oh, I mean, again, it's neat. I get what they're going for, but also it's so bland. Like,
So,
oh,
yeah,
you're also
like I
just
said-
faster now.
I agree
Like, you
with.
get cool stuff, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree with the internet. It is, it's very got some Star Wars, Jedi, maybe even a Sith, kind of vibes to it. I don't know. It just feels like,
Agonizing Strike's pretty Sith.
yeah, that's true. It just feels to me like, I don't know. I have my own opinions that I'm not going to indulge yet. We're going to wait till we get through all these classes and whatnot, and we probably should pick up the pace a little bit. But I don't know. For me, it just feels like it seems balanced. This is probably of the three, probably the most balanced. I think the next one's a little bit underpowered.
Without a
and
doubt.
the last one is crazy, but this is probably the most balanced one, I would say. I think this is going to come down to preference. I could see people enjoying this class. I really can. To me,
The other issue, though, if you look back, I know the fighter's kind of a good Nova. Anyways, they have their action surge and everything. But look back at this class; they get something extra for their reaction, their bonus action, and their action. Right?
That's
for bonus
all
action,
around
you
not
have the
bad.
extra damage dealer. You can
Yeah.
forego an attack to either activate your bulwark, and on a hit, you can inflict extra damage. And as a reaction, you can gain your dreadnought.
Right.
You can use every single part of your turn, at least for if you Nova once,
Right.
Right.
to do something, which is pretty good. You can basically, you did anything to me this round, DM. Well, I'm gonna just fucking go crazy.
Going to do
Right.
everything.
So, like I said, I think from a technical standpoint, I think it's a balanced class. I don't have issues with it. On a personal preference, I don't know if I am a big fan, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Moving on. I think we pretty much already. Basically concise it. Flavor-wise, it's lacking. There's not enough there to really.
I think it's not. I think it's lacking in flavor-wise. I think it's down to a small niche of what the flavor could be. There's there's not enough room for noodling the flavor a bit. You're kind of stuck to a certain niche. But I mean, that can be said for a lot of subclasses that are published in the game. So.
So moving on to the Soulknife for the Rogue, something that flavor-wise I very much enjoy. This takes the one of the Mystic paths, which had a very similar idea where you could form like psychic blades.
I think Soulknife was a official class in previous editions.
Was it?
In previous editions, maybe.
positive.
I think it was, but wasn't. I don't have it up. I guess I could pull it up, but the Mystic,
Or something similar.
The Unearthed Arcana Mystic from forever ago. Wasn't it subclasses a soul knife?
I think it might have been, honestly.
I'm pulling it up right now because I just remembered, and I'm kind of.
It was the same idea though, where you're forming magical blades.
Yeah, Order of the Soul Knife. So they plucked that from.
It literally is just that, but for Rogue, which might be fine. Starting at 3rd level, you get Psychic Blade. As a bonus action, create a magical blade of shimmering psychic power from one or both of your hands. While one of your hands is manifesting a blade, you can't hold anything in that hand. You can dismiss one or both blades at any time, no action required, and they disappear if you're incapacitated. It is a simple weapon, or simple melee weapon, with the finesse, light, and thrown properties, with a range of 30 feet normal, long range 60.
Whoa.
Deals 1d6 psychic damage on a hit, and if you throw the blade's part of attack, it vanishes after it hits or misses. Otherwise, it disappears the instant it leaves your hand.
Maybe this is.
So basically, you just have infinite daggers to throw. It's a bonus action, to be fair, to summon them, which it can be a big deal for some regards. It means you're not going to be able to cunning action if you're summoning these.
Mm-hmm.
But they do psychic damage default, which is really good. And keep in mind, I think sneak attack does the extra damage equal to whatever your weapon is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sneak attack, it's
Equal your
just
weapon damage,
extra
yeah.
psychic
Yep.
damage. So pretty good.
Yeah.
You also get psionic enhancement at 3rd level. You can focus your psionic powers to give you extraordinary abilities. When you finish a long rest, you gain one of the following benefits of your choice, much like the fighter. You can communicate telepathically with any creature you see within 30 feet of you. If they can speak at least one language, they can respond telepathically. Increase your walking speed by 5 feet, or your hit point maximum and your current hit point increased by an amount equal to your intelligence modifier plus your rogue level. One of these things is not like the other.
Right?
One of these things does not belong. Why the fuck would you pick 5 extra walking speed when you could have at this level up to, I guess, 8 if you have max intelligence, current, and max HP?
Yeah, I don't.
Who in the right mind picks 5 feet of
Because
walking?
you need 5 feet, man. You need one more square. Just one more.
I don't
Either
like.
move 1 square or last 1 extra hit.
I don't like this for more reasons than that. I mean, to your point, yeah, there's no reason to not to choose the walking speed, but your God damn it, your the hit point maximum thing seems a little bit too noodly to me. I don't know if I like messing with maximums going up and down based on your choice a lot. Like, it's kind of weird. And okay, so this came up to me because we were doing our subclasses that we've been writing, which we have all the first drafts done now, so that's been neat. But anyways, I was just recently going through and doing the warlock, and did you know? And I did some research to back this up. This is the intent. That the Great Old One warlock has a ability you get. It's just your ability for the subclass for I think 3rd level or 1st level. It's the first one you get, which is a telepathy ability. However, the intent with that ability is one-way communication. You can speak to somebody's mind, but they can't reply back. Okay? So now you're making this rogue, who's not a spellcaster by default. He's just some psionic shithead. Maybe now we're kind of reading ahead a little bit. Probably also kind of Jedi themed a little bit. Have it 2-way.
And you don't even need to have the same language. They have to be able to understand a language.
Yep. It just says, "Hey warlock, hey Great Old One warlock, fuck you." That's what this says.
What warlocks need is to get shit on some more.
I know.
I mean,
I personally would
hold on
allow.
a second. Like it's a rogue versus a warlock, 2 very, very different classes. So
I know. The point
if you're
was
going for it totally depends on. You can have different abilities that are better than other abilities on different classes.
Yeah, I
Yes,
guess
but I
it's more of a
mean-
discussion on just maybe the Great Old One its own. Maybe we can have a talk on that later on. I just found it interesting that if you're comparing power levels for balance purposes, it kind of seems like the Great Old One as intended is kind of shit. Well, this is actually really useful.
it
Here's
kind of
what
is
bothers
kinda
me
shit, yeah.
is lately they've been, especially with the 3 subclasses in this document that are sharing a lot of the same abilities. They've been throwing around this ability a bunch as well. The sorcerer that Curry plays, the Aberrant Mind,
Mhm.
has a similar ability, but I think it's a
Yeah.
limited use thing.
Right. I think so. I
But
think
they've
you're right.
been just throwing this around where you just can break language barriers super, super easy.
Yeah. For all these psionics,
Which
yep.
is usually kind of a big deal in a lot of
Huge
games
deal.
where you have comprehend languages or something, right? That kind of can play a big deal, or what languages you have. Now, whatever language you guys have, unless it comes to reading, doesn't matter because this rogue can just tap into someone's mind and just be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, super useful because, like you said, language barriers in the game are a very, very big deal. They can sometimes single-handedly decide if you're going to get into a fight or not, or completely just do other really cool shit. Looking ahead a little bit in the class, hit point maximum doesn't really make sense.
I'd get if you got temp HP or something.
Yeah.
It's some sort of psychic barrier or your reflexes are increased,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
actual hit points.
Yeah. Is it weird?
But-
Before we move on, because I know we said we want to speed up a little bit, but I just want to point out because I made a note here for myself to mention it. But On to the point of giving full-on telepathy this early, you have to remember is actually pretty crazy if you think about it, because a normal caster, like a normal wizard, I think it's only a wizard spell. Normally, in order to cast a spell that allows telepathy, of the caliber of two-way communication constant, is a 5th level telepathic bond spell. A 5th level spell. Now, granted, yes, it's for up to 8 willing creatures versus one or the other. But wait, doesn't this say this doesn't limit? You can just do this infinitely, right?
Yep.
So it's better than a 5th level spell. It is better than a 5th level spell.
It just you choose it after a long rest, and it
To be
lasts
fair, this is
until
30
your next
feet
long
though.
rest.
Telepathic bond is like any distance basically once you've cast it.
Fair. I'm just saying, like, yeah. I mean, I get that's a good point, but still, it's just I don't know. If like giving telepathy early, like I get it, and it's in combat, those damage numbers aren't going to really. There's nothing there mechanically for combat, but it I don't know. It just feels strong to give it that early.
It's cool being able to telepathically communicate with stuff.
Sure.
Just not everyone should have it, and maybe not that early.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Anyways,
a 9th level you get Terrifying Blade. Your Psychic Blades can now stoke terror in your target. When you damage a creature with your Psychic Blade, you can force the target to make a Wisdom saving throw, DC equal to 8, plus Proficiency, plus Intelligence modifier. On a failed save, they are frightened of you until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the creature isn't frightened and is immune to your Terrifying Blade for 24 hours. That's neat. It's a little insane. You can just use that whenever, every time you damage someone until they succeed, basically. I will say, giving a little bit of a hint at stuff to come. The day that me and BB sat down and did our subclass for the rogue that we're working on, which had a lot of fear and stuff involved. Not 30 minutes later, we were like, okay, cool. We finished that, ended the Discord call, went our separate ways, and then not 30 minutes later, I'm on Twitter and like, oh, new Unearthed Arcana.
Yep.
Oh, there's a psychic rogue.
This made me really sad.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Wizard of the Coast clearly has one of our houses bugged because they stole our shit.
They've stolen a lot of stuff, yeah. They steal all my stuff. Anyways.
But this ability, I think, is neat. I don't think it's all that crazy. I don't like how much bookkeeping it is.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, did this guy succeed a saving throw yet? Okay, he's immune. This guy hasn't been hit yet, so he still gets to make a saving throw.
I mean, welcome to the life of a DM.
Yeah, but more so than other stuff, right? Like other, I don't know.
Right.
I don't think it's crazily.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just, it's a bit weird.
I don't think it's like overly powerful though, right? I mean, it seems decent.
Frightened it's just a big debuff, having disadvantage on all attacks while your sources of fear is in the line of sight.
You can't move closer.
You can't move closer. It's just a debuff on the enemy. So I mean, I have no problem with the fear effect of its own, and as a 9th level ability, sure. I don't know,
I'd rather see, instead of like once they succeed being immune, I'd rather just have it be limited to intelligence modifier, so it's just easier to track. That means less bookkeeping on the DM.
Yeah, I agree.
13th level even, you get Psychic Veil. You can weave a veil of psionic static to mask your physical presence. As an action, you can magically become invisible along with anything you are wearing or carrying for 10 minutes. This invisibility ends if you make an attack or if you force a creature to make a saving throw. You can use this feature number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, regaining them on a long rest.
So just an invisibility. It's slightly better than invis. Right. It's slightly better than invis because normal invis is any time you cast a spell. So technically you could be I mean, I guess you're a rogue, so really, unless you multi-class, this is the only way it would matter. But like, if you were giving out buffs of some sort, like if you had like cleric levels and like blessed and stuff, like that technically wouldn't end this invisibility because you're not making anybody make a save. But for the most part, it's just an invisibility. That's 10 minutes rather than an hour.
Yeah, it's nice, and I mean, to be fair, it's equal to your intelligence modifier, so you could reasonably get up to close to an hour total.
Sure.
But
yeah, that's true.
It's an action though, so in combat, you're kind of
Yeah, it sucks that it's an action because it's your full turn. Yeah.
But out of combat, if you need to get by something quickly, I like the flavor as well that you're just like blocking your presence from other people's minds, basically.
They can't perceive you because their brain can't comprehend it. The flavor is cool. Yeah.
It's kind of like this whole subclass is like, it starts out and it's like, oh, you get these cool blades that you just summon and then they disappear whenever you want them to. Like,
Yeah, and
that's a really cool like assassin type look. And then it's like, oh, but now you can just make yourself tanky with like that doesn't really go along with it.
I'm
And
glad
then
you brought
it's
that
That's
up.
like-
still out of the.
And then it's like terrifying blade is like something completely different. Like you can make people terrified of you. I guess that kind of makes sense.
That's
like
when you hit them, so that does
You're
tie in
right.
a little bit. But
and then now you can just make yourself invisible and then go and shank somebody, and then all of a sudden you have no weapons, no way for anybody to prove that you actually are the one who did this.
There's
so,
a very cool assassin vibe going on
Yeah.
here that I would like to see maybe the focus be a little tighter on. Like, yeah, the extra HP is weird. I'd like to see something more. Like, definitely the mechanics of this is impressive. Where someone with these abilities could go in and kill someone, there'd be no proof that they did it. Basically, no one saw them. There's no weapons left behind. Just this guy has like 6 stab wounds, and there's no weapons. around.
yeah.
there's some cool potential there. But at the same time, kind of piggybacking off what Nate said, and I think this is what you're hinting towards, but to kind of put it in the light a little bit, is there's a synergy issue between the 9th level and the 13th level abilities, because if you do both of them in succession, right, you make someone terrified of you, and they turn around and use your psychic veil to go invisible. You're only frightened if the source of your fear is in line of sight. So the moment you go
Oh,
invisible,
true.
you're no longer their frightened. Doesn't matter. So just there's a synergy issue there, just as a pointer.
Very true. I didn't realize that was in the rules.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
Yep.
See, it's funny because we ran into that same issue as well, right? As I messaged you, I wanted our subclass to have some sort of invisibility like this, where
Yeah.
some sort of horrific, aberrant monstrosity like wasn't perceived by mortal minds, and you're like, oh, but that negates frightens.
Well, we don't need to talk about that too much because we don't have those public yet. But
spoilers.
eventually we
I
will.
know, it's interesting though that like they just did that though. That
Yeah,
they
no,
were like, eh.
I agree. But yeah, as a double check, yeah, both the status effects on Frightened, I just double check this, requires, so the disadvantage thing, the big thing, disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, it's all the source of its fear is within line of sight. So if you can't see, if you go invisible, then that Frightened no longer matters. It just is a pointer.
Last, we have 17th level Rend Mind. You can sweep your Psychic Blade directly through a creature's mind. As an action, while you have at least one Psychic Blade manifested, you can force a creature you can see within 30 feet of you to make an intelligence saving throw, equal to 10 plus proficiency plus intelligence modifier. Weird that this one's 10 plus. Usually the baseline's 8.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's a typo. That can't be right. Because literally nothing else in the game is calculated that way when it comes to DC.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's either intentional and it's stupid, because why are you breaking the formula? Or it's a typo and I forgive you.
If you're hidden from the target as disadvantage on the save. So here's that assassin playing in once you get in there. And as well, if you're invisible, you're hidden. So you have that synergy of you pop invisibility and then can get this off at disadvantage. On a failed save, the target takes 12d6 psychic damage and is stunned until the start of your next turn. A successful save, the target takes half as much damage and isn't stunned. One of your psychic blades vanishes after using this feature. You can use this a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, regained on a long rest. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Borderline ridiculous.
It's crazy to me to think that because this 12d6 is hang on, let me reread it, make sure I'm going to say this. This is a point I
Keep in
wrote down
mind
here.
that this is a full action. So you're only getting one attack, and this isn't like a weapon or anything, so you're not sneak attacking.
You're not sneak attacking. That's what I wanted to see. Okay. So
at this level, sneak attack is 9d6, so
And
it's
you
still slightly better.
It's way better than the normal sneak attack. It's just,
and you do lose one of your psychic blades, so you all of a sudden don't have an offhand or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. So there's a little bit of a penalty drawback to it, but
Yeah.
okay. So it's
And
just,
if you were to sneak attack with one of these blades, they default do a d6 damage. That would be 10d6. It's 2d6 extra damage for a full action. So really, you're getting 1d6 extra because you're, instead of getting to make an attack, another attack, or whatever, right? You're, because you'd have the offhand.
You're basically converting your sneak attack into psychic damage and making it an int save, which, as we talked about on a previous episode, int saves are very uncommon when it comes to the monsters throughout 5e. Not a lot of guys have it. So you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck from this ability, and
you have a way to get disadvantage on the save pretty reliably.
which is crazy, yeah.
In fact, you can do it every single time because they're both limited on your intelligence modifier, so you have an equal amount of both uses.
Sure. So overall,
I think it's fine. I mean, you're a
compared to
DPS
some of the
class,
craziness like
and-
Assassin
yeah.
Rogue,
Right.
like this is pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty good. Again, balance wise, I don't have too much of an issue. I do have an issue with I think the Terrifying Blade should get removed for something else because there's a synergy issue. Because a Rend Mind and Psychic Veil, they synergize well, and that's great. And obviously, you know, their Rend Mind is tied into your blades. The Psychic Veil is not. Terrifying Blade is if you hit them with your Psychic Blades. I don't know. I feel like Terrifying Blade should just be changed to another thing that has to do with your blades, but I think the fear effect, it doesn't really work here. I get where they're trying to go with it. I just don't think it works here.
Yeah, I feel like there's something if they went for like, I don't know. I guess a grapple wouldn't be as big, but just like something.
I don't know what it would be, and I'm not in the mood to develop. I just think it doesn't belong, and it should be changed. As well as the third level ability, by the way, too. The three options there are one of those should not be a thing, and the other one is a bit too noodly, and the other one might be too strong. I don't know. So I think the psionic enhancement,
third level ability.
Yeah, the third level psionic enhancement I think needs to get restructured heavily too, in my opinion.
Very much so. Overall, though, flavor-wise, I think I like Nate's kind of point of like this makes a pretty cool Assassin Rogue, even though the Assassin Rogue is already a thing. And I like the Psychic Blade. Like I wanted to play a Soulknife Mystic because I just love that sort of idea. But
well, we will talk about that a little bit later. Let's get to the subclass that I think makes us the most frustrated. I think this is the most broken bullshit.
For wizards, you have the Arcane Tradition Psionics. Starting at second level, you have Psionic Focus. You've learned to channel Psionic energy through a special object, a Psionic Focus. You gain the object when you use the feature, or when you get this feature, which has a sidebar on what the various forms it can be. The object is your spellcasting focus. If you roll psychic or force damage for any of your wizard spells, you can re-roll any of those damage dice that rolls a 1, but must use the new roll. If your Psionic Focus is lost, you can magically recreate it by meditating for 1 hour during a short or long rest, at the end of which focus appears in your hand. So you're basically always going to have this. And getting the roll on damage is nice. It's not unheard of. There's a lot of things, but they're usually either feats or there's other special abilities for, I think, like Sorcerer or something that gives you a similar thing. Also, I want to touch on actually real quick. That means Magic Missile as well, which can be pretty big because a 1 on Magic Missile is pretty common. That's a 25% chance on that die to roll.
That's
1,
true.
So.
I also want to point out that, and this is going to be true with a couple of abilities for this this wizard subclass. My first angry complaint is, and it's a common thing for wizard subclasses to be just super strong, but this kind of shits on the sorcerer. Because a sorcerer has a meta magic object or option that allows them to spend a resource and fucking reroll a number of ones on the damage spell, I think equal to your charisma modifier. This is an always reroll ones, and there is no limit to how many ones you can reroll. There's no resource being fucking spent. This is just better than a sorcerer's shit.
That's true. Like if you just roll all 1s on a magic missile roll, like all of a sudden I'm rerolling all my damage dice again.
And to your point that you're about to say, Bryce, yeah, it's limited to psychic and force damage, true, but a wizard is going to have the greatest selection of spells. They get to learn 2 per level.
Spells.
Yeah,
there's a lot of force damage abilities.
A lot of force, a lot of psychic. They're going to have a lot of options in their repertoire to take full advantage of this. And I just want to, like I said, and a sorcerer could take a lot of those same options, not as much, sure, but in order for them to get the same bang out of this ability, they need to spend a precious sorcerer point or 2 or however many it is. It's just
it's for sure it's too broad compared to what other classes get.
There's another ability we're about to talk to in a minute too. It pisses me off. It's the same shit. It just fucking says sorcerer. You want to do this? Well, he could do it for free, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Second level, you also get Psionic Devotion. Your study Psionics begins to unleash your mind's potential. When you gain this feature, you choose one of the following cantrips: Friends, Mage Hand, or Message. You learn the cantrip. If you don't already know it, doesn't count towards your cantrip that you know. And while you have your Psionic Focus, which should really be always, you can cast the cantrip as a bonus action, and it is modified. And the first one is, I would say, the most crazy. Friends, when the spell ends, the target doesn't become hostile to you.
Yep. It
The
removes the
one
penalty
thing
of
I will
friends.
say,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just something they didn't specify, which I think needs to be, because otherwise it's up to the DM. I think Friends specifically says, when the spell ends, the creature realizes that you used magic to influence its mood and becomes hostile towards you. So they only say it doesn't become hostile. Does that mean they still know you used magic?
That's a good point. I
And
think there
if
needs to be clarity
so,
there.
then they might still become hostile because your DM be like, well, he knows you just used magic, so he's still going to be angry.
But the ability says
Right.
it doesn't become hostile, Bryce. He's just okay with it. I'm
Yeah, so
sure
that
the
means-
intent is they don't know the magic's cast on them. I just think
that seems
there's
to
lack of
be-
wording here.
Either it's they don't know, or the charm persists long enough they don't care.
Yeah.
Which I feel like the usual
Yeah, I
is just
think-
they don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel that
One or
needs to
the
be
other.
specified, definitely.
Yep.
For Mage Hand, you can make it invisible, and you can control its bonus action. So to your point, BB, where
Yep.
rogues could use it as a bonus action. was
This
just,
one
"Oh, I
this
can
one
do that
steps
too."
all over the Arcane Trickster Rogue, and also but to that counterpoint, at least the Arcane Trickster Rogue could do their things
They
like
do
picking a
finesse
lock,
things with it.
picking
Yeah.
a lock, and some they still get a slightly better version, but yeah, it's just like
Slightly,
saying, you know,
but less
now
and
your
less
wizard can do
so.
it too, just so you know.
Yeah.
I know you're an
Yeah.
Arcane Trickster Rogue, and that's how your whole shtick, but I can do it too. I'm a wizard. I studied this.
Yep. Message, you don't need to point towards the target or whisper a message aloud, which I think's meh. I feel like most DMs hardly even track that anyways. I know, at least for our group, usually if someone
The
casts
point
messages,
is,
big postpone.
the point is, they're going for message, which is one-way communication. Oh, I know it is two-way. Never mind. I retract my statement.
But it's requiring normally an action.
An action,
now
yeah.
bonus action. While the rogue can just do it, admittedly not
Yeah.
through walls. They have to be able to see them, but
True.
also it's limited on the how much you can say as well. I think message is only like a sentence or something.
Yep, it's
So unless you're
relatively
going back
minor. The big thing of the second level abilities is just going to be that re-rolling the damage rolls of Psychic and Force.
Also, friends, arguably, I mean, that's for bonus action advantage on charisma checks with
That's
a creature
true.
that they
That's
and
true.
no
That's just
negative.
all. You basically always have advantage. If you're a high charisma wizard, that's going to be super useful to you.
Yep.
Or
Yeah. Moving on to 6th level, you have Thought Form. While you're carrying your Sonic Focus, which again you should always, you can use your bonus action to magically transform your body into pure psionic energy. Lasts for 10 minutes, or until you use a bonus action to assume your normal form, or until you're incapacitated or die. While in Thought Form, you are a figure of luminous psychic energy with your Psionic Focus hovering within. Your form can appear as anything you wish, but it's obviously magical and is the same size as you. Sheds dim light, 5-foot radius. Any other equipment you are wearing or carrying transforms with you and melds into your Thought Form. You also gain the following benefits. You gain Psionic Spellcasting. When you cast a spell while in Thought Form, you can cast your spell psionically. If you do so, the spell doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack a gold cost.
or shit.
You also gain Psychic Resilience. You gain resistance to psychic damage and to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks.
Okay.
You
Cool.
can use this transformation equal to your intelligence modifier, regained on a long rest. Why?
Bullshit. Once again, the sorcerer has to spend a precious sorcerer point for subtle spell to be able to do this shit. Granted, this one does have an intelligence modifier limitation, but it's a transformation that lasts for 10 minutes. You're going to get this pretty much all the time.
To be
This
fair,
is
though,
stupid.
I think those are for two different purposes, BB. Subtle spell is for you to do it like secretly. There is no way you're doing spell secretly while you're a giant glowing ball of
Yeah.
psionic light. I think this is more if you were like grappled or something and couldn't, if you're stuck in a web, you couldn't like use your hands. You
No,
could still cast spells.
But I think the point of not having any somatic, the big thing is like if you don't know someone is casting a spell. I mean, yeah, you might be a glowing bit of psychic energy, but if you don't know at the exact moment in which they're casting a spell because they're giving no indication of doing it, then you can't be counterspelled because you can't counterspell a spell you don't know is being cast. And that's kind of the big thing for subtle spell is what I'm pretty sure its intended use was, is you're doing it with no components, so you're just doing it. And nobody can know until it's too late that the spell's being cast. At least that's my interpretation of the ability.
No, that makes
I could be
sense,
wrong there. It's how I rule it. But still, it's just like the point, regardless of the ruling, this is literally still an ability the sorcerer has. This is the second time this subclass does it, that the sorcerer has to spend sorcerer points, which they don't have that many to do, especially when they're spacing out with a bunch of other shit they can do. When this wizard gets it for 10 minutes, let's call it fucking, with their gets limited intelligence modifier, anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes on average, where they can just do it always.
Yep.
In that 10 minutes, they can cast all of their spells, or a sorcerer will never be able to cast all their spells and subtle spell them all.
Why is this a wizard ability? This strikes me as a sorcerer thing of like transforming.
Exactly. This is a sorcerer subclass. This does not belong to wizard, in my opinion. I think
what all of
feel
these
like it.
strike me as? Fucking make the Scion.
Dude,
don't make different subclasses.
We're gonna get to that. But I'm with you. Yep. Let's power through this.
All right, 10th level, you get Mental Discipline. Your mind's power extends to greater heights. When you gain this feature, choose one of the following spells: Dominate Person, Scrying, or Telekinesis. You add it to your spellbook without, and you can cast it without components.
Fuck!
Just at all. Scrying, you don't need a ball or anything now. You can just scry.
Dominate Person, Telekinesis are the huge ones.
Yep.
Yeah,
you can also cast the chosen spell once without expending a spell slot. After you do so, you gain the ability to cast the spell without using a spell slot on a long rest.
Don't hate that part. Hate the first part. Still,
Yeah.
Fuck you, sorcerer. I'm a wizard. I can do better than you.
It's fucking ridiculous.
I hate it. I hate it.
On top of, you also at 10th level get Empowered Psionics. When you deal psychic or force damage with a wizard spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to at least one of the targets. So not only can you reroll ones, also, you cast Magic Missile. Also, that one guy takes an extra 5 points of damage on top of Magic Missile.
Yeah, holy fuck.
I just no. Compared to so many other things, just no.
The whole point of the sorcerer is that they have less spells than a wizard, but they hit a lot harder. They can do more manipulation to them.
This still gets more spells, more casting, and also more damage.
Yeah, it's like I'm a sorcerer. I'm live to manipulate my spells in cool ways. Oh, yeah. But there's also a wizard who just reads books, and now
this just makes me sad. This subclass makes me so sad, and I hate it. And there's a flavor reason in a minute too, but let's get through this. All
right, 14th level, you get Thought Travel. While you use your thought form, you have flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. And can move through other creatures and objects if they were difficult terrain. You take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside an object. For your turn in normal form while inside an object, you are shunted to the nearest unoccupied space, taking 1d10 force damage for every 5 feet traveled.
Do you remember all those sorcerer subclasses that have a flying speed of 14th level? Can I just say?
Yeah.
Like Storm Sorcerer and whatnot. That cool. Now I can
Draconic
fly.
Sorcerer gets wings. Dude, it's just a sorcerer in a wizard form, and I hate it so much.
It's just a wizard that read a book on how to be a sorcerer and was like, I can do that.
No, I hate it. Okay, let's just, before we get to the spell section of this and get a little bit more pissed, and I don't think we're going to read through all of them. I just want to point out a couple of them. Oh, there's feats at the end too. I forgot about that part. But let's talk a little bit. Let's back up a second. Because the flavor of this class, it's a wizard who studies psionics, okay? And now I just want to point out that you're someone who studies psionics and you're manipulating psionic energy. You're becoming someone who's attuned to catching shit with their brain, okay? Wizard, their whole shtick, their whole class, notated right in the player's handbook, is they got this thing called a spellbook. And there's even abilities within this subclass that add spells to your spellbook. So now you are taking mental abilities and you're putting them in your spellbook. Why? I think really hard with my brain, and this is the spell I cast. No,
this is how to cast. Think real good.
I need to prepare this spell every day because I didn't prepare how to use my brain yesterday, so I can't cast this spell. It doesn't make any sense.
You know what upsets me is they started off really strong with, I like the idea of, as a wizard, I see wizards, like a psionic wizard, being kind of like an asshole. Like a monk could be a psionic. Like they spent years training to tone into these psionic energies and become one with it. While a wizard researches into it and like manipulates and abuses it by focusing it through like their arcane focus or their psionic focus and using that, like harnessing it for their own purposes. This is just you are becoming psionic energy, which is a sorcerer thing.
Dude, it's a
Like
sorcerer.
there are
man.
literally sorcerer abilities like the umbral form where you turn into a thing.
This
This
belonged
isn't for nerds.
this belonged in a sorcerer subclass, I think.
Now, okay, hold on. Question.
But it shouldn't
If
exist
this-
at all. This is broken. Sorry.
What if this was just? What if you just got rid of wizard and said this was a sorcerer subclass? This is what you got as a sorcerer.
I might be okay with it.
I think I'd be okay with that.
Probably.
I mean, no, I think there's still things that need to get tweaked a little bit, but
Yeah, but I would still
No,
be
for the fact that there's literally things in here that you have to use
right.
your sorcerer points on. So those features would just
yeah,
have to
add
be
some
completely
sorcerer point
retooled.
usage. Give it to a sorcerer. Fine.
True.
Sure.
Yep.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yep.
Now,
I agree.
do we want? I kind of want to go through the features before we go through spells.
No, I want to. Before we do that, I just want to. Hang on, I'm just trying to collect
Yep.
myself because I'm so sad, because I want to take this
Very
time
hard.
to say the exact same thing and talk about a little bit what Nate already kind of mentioned, and then we'll touch on those feats real quick, and then we'll hit a couple of the spells. We're not going to go through them all. But why are we getting subclasses for psionics? I know Wizards of the Coast that the Mystic was not very well received. I know it was a bit overpowered. Why couldn't we have just reflavored it? I don't know why psionics need to be a subclass, right? Like, I just feel like I've done some poking around on the internet to see where people stand on it, and there's a little bit of a mixed bowl. Some people don't want a whole new system for psionics. People just want it to be tied into the existing stuff, which is what the subclass shit kind of does. But in my opinion, and I think there's a lot out there that agree with me, we just give us a psionic system. Like, I know people don't like new shit and they don't want to learn a new system. Well, too bad. They don't play the class. It's fine. But give us a new system. Don't mesh this in with pre-existing classes, because especially when the psychic does come out and it's its own class, assuming it does, this document here kind of makes it seem like they're getting away with the mystic, but recent tweets maybe think that that's not going to happen. But so if a psychic ever came out, if there was ever a Scion class, put this in that possible universe, then you have the reverse of what the psychic did when it first came out to begin with. So when the Mystic first came out, the biggest problem it was so versatile and could do everything so well. It stepped on all the classes' toes, right? Now you're going to have it so now you're a Mystic, and fucking anybody else can play a psychic subclass of another class, and you're stepping on the fucking Scion's toes, man. It's just...
Yeah. And not to mention...
I just want a Mystic. I want a Scion class. I don't want fucking subclasses with the psychics in it. Well, maybe a little bit, but not just full on this wizard shit. Sorry.
This is kind of something I kind of want to talk more on the bonus action about how the difference in publishing has changed for Wizard of the Coast and how they do players' handbooks and stuff. But briefly, like, there's a big difference between making a subclass or making a class that has like 3 or 4 subclasses that are vaguely different versus trying to make a psionic subclass for 12, now 13 classes, right?
Yep.
Like, even in these 3, they overlap so much with certain abilities that it seems a little daunting and maybe a little overzealous to try and come up with a bunch of psionic subclasses instead of just a psionic class with a couple of distinct subclasses, right?
They literally took a subclass that was in the Mystic document and made it a rogue.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like being like, okay, well, we have an assassin class for the rogue, right? We need to make an assassin class for assassin subclass for every class.
Right.
That's what they're doing right here. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I like, maybe there's some bias here because I just want a Scion class. I want the Mystic to be good. I want a new Mystic. And I just don't know. I don't know if I want...
Yeah, it does seem like you said, they kind of are just pushing the Mystic aside because so many people are like, why are you giving us a whole new system? Like, don't do that. Like, we don't want all this new stuff. Like, but don't use it then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just because it's published doesn't mean you have to use it.
Yeah, and I guess you could say the same thing with these subclasses, right? You're as the DM, you could just say it's not allowed, and
Like
I get that
to
too. Yeah, like we'll probably do.
Wait,
but like,
I can't play the Wiz Sorcerer?
But to that point, it just seems like, at least for the Wizards thing, now you're still making conflicts, and you're going to be kind of letting your players. I mean, because people are going to see published shit and they're like, dude, I want to play this, and then you're like, well, no, I don't like it, right? Because now you're not going to let your player down. I don't know. There's just issues I have here, and it just makes me sad.
Yeah, that does seem like something you would do, Matt. You fun killer.
Well, fuck you. I could go on for a long time talking about my how depressed I am that we're getting psionic subclasses and not a psionic class, and maybe we'll still get both. I don't know. I just feel like
It'd be even worse if we did get both.
I just feel like at its
I
core,
hope we don't get both.
Yeah, I would rather have one or the other. I don't want to have to.
Yeah, that's. I agree. I just want a psion by itself, and let's touch on these spells and the reason
I want to go
to
through the feats first because I feel like those are a bit simpler.
Yeah. Okay.
And because there's some stuff that ties into the subclass I want to touch on. So there's a number of sonic new feats. There's only 2. You have first one is telekinetic. Your intelligence goes up by 1. You learn the Mage Hand cantrip and can cast it without verbal or somatic components and can make it invisible.
Of course you can.
Never heard of that before.
Already you have 2 subclasses in this document that have this. So either you're a psionic class that isn't going to take this feature, or you're going to be a non-psionic class that also then now has a psionic ability out of nowhere.
Yep, I agree.
Additionally, as a bonus action, you can try and shove a creature you can see within 5 feet of the hand created by the Mage Hand spell. If you do so, it must succeed on a strength saving throw, 8 plus proficiency plus intelligence modifier, or be pushed 5 feet away from you.
Yep.
This is pretty minor compared to, there's plenty of things that are, if you get a stat increase, usually the effect is minor, which I think in this case it is. It's just, again, this is stepping on the toes. I would rather play any other rogue now, really, and just take this feature and be like, oh, I can still kind of do that thing.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
think the feature isn't terrible, but they need to make it so that you can't use the Mage Hand as a Mage Hand. Like once again, they're trying to make something be telekinesis, but they're just giving you a Mage Hand. Like, why?
They're just turning.
Why not just as a bonus action you can shove one creature? Like, why do I need the Mage Hand?
That would be.
They're
nice,
turning psionic into spells, and that's the other part that we're going to talk about in just a minute here of why I don't like it.
The second one is telepathic. This is where I start this is where I get upset at the features.
This is horseshit.
By
the way, feats are already optional, but if you allow them, don't allow this shit. Don't allow this one for so many reasons.
It's real good, man. Everyone should go variant human and have this because your intelligence goes up by 1. You gain proficiency in either deception, insight, intimidation, or persuasion. Pretty decent list. As well, you can communicate telepathically with any creature you can see within 30 feet of you. If it understands at least one language, it can respond telepathically.
Fuck.
Congratulations! Everyone can now speak telepathically.
Dude.
Full variant human party. Nobody talks ever.
No one.
So on to the point of I don't personally want to see subclasses into or psionics. I want it to be in its own system. Now you're making it so there is an option for someone to just take a subclass and do it with these options, and then now you have a feat where literally any class can type into the psionic abilities and have it be fucking stupid. And then you can take telepathic, and first of all, I'm so sorry, great old one warlocks. I'm really sorry. And second of all, there was no reason for somebody to not have this, because you get rid of the fun of DM setting up scenarios where you need to know the certain languages to communicate or understand, or it just okay.
Or these guys overheard you. Like, no, they didn't. DM.
That was all telepathically.
That too. You take away a lot of fun elements that the DM can throw on you. And yeah, I mean, you can come back and say, but Matt, you can just, a wizard or a sorcerer can just cast comprehend languages. But at least they're spending a resource. This is always.
Yep. And I have a grievance with, I feel like psionics is a very special thing. Either it's something innate or you spend a lot of time researching. I don't like everyone having access to a feature that just like, oh, I just also have a psionic ability.
Yep.
If you want psionic abilities, then multi-class into a psionic class.
Or just give us a scion and be a fucking scion.
And just be a scion. Anyways, let's try and get through things. We have spells to go through. BB, it sounds like you have a particular few that you want to touch on. I will say real quick, something I like about this document is Wizard of the Coast goes through and it gives you a list of spells. It says,
no, Bryce, that's not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. Because now...
Okay.
It's not okay.
Well,
Psionics are not spells. They're not spells. They shouldn't be
I
spells.
specifically
And now
state
you're
that.
giving them a list. Now you're giving them a list where any bard, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard can fucking take psionic spells. So it doesn't matter if you're one of these shitty fucking subclasses. Now you can fucking take a psionic spell and be a scion technically.
I was just gonna
And
say, I
scribble
like
a
that.
scion spell in your
Okay.
in your wizard book? No, it doesn't work that way.
I use my mind through my trumpet as a bard.
I hate it so much.
I think maybe I'm not so much saying the spells they're giving are good, BB. Just my point was
Ugh.
they give you existing spells. They're like, these could be good flavor for psionic abilities.
Oh, that's what you're saying? I'm sorry.
That's what I was saying.
I thought you were about to say something else and I got super triggered. I'm not even going to
No,
lie.
I'm sorry to set you off early, but no, they just
Okay.
like they're like, hey, friends and Mage Hand and Blink. These are all good psionic spells that for like flavor wise. They're not
Dude.
giving you access. Just you're a wizard. This may be good spells for you flavor wise. I like that. It's something extra they did they didn't have to do. Anyways, on to the actual reason why you're angry. Please go right ahead, BB.
So some of these psionic spells, these spells that you need to put into your spell book or you need to memorize, or anybody can be a psionic now if you allow these rules. Let's just talk on a couple of these great spells that just are super balanced in every way. I'd like to direct our attention to the first one on my list of horseshit here, which is it, I don't know if it's supposed to be ID or id, insinuation. Not really sure what they mean with that one. It's a first level.
The ego and the id.
It's a first level enchantment psionic
I know.
spell.
I was just gonna say. I think they made a bunch of typos because I see 4th level enchantment, 2nd level abjuration. Like those are supposed to say psion,
Those are
right?
schools of magic and stuff. Okay. Oh, by the way, these psionic spells, they still have components though. You still need to talk and move your hand to use your brain.
Obviously,
Um,
these mental spells need.
So this
need
first level
storage.
enchantment psionic spell, you unleash a torrent of conflicting desires. I'll just get to the thing. It's a wisdom saving throw or be incapacitated, which that is no reactions, no actions on your turn. At the end of each of its turns, it takes 1d12 psychic damage and can then make another wisdom saving throw. On a success, the spell ends the target. Okay, so
So much wrong.
let's
with that.
pretend for a second that Hold Person was not a spell in D&D 5e. Oh wait, because it is a fucking spell in 5th edition. And Hold Person, by the way, is a 2nd level spell. And granted, yes, it's a 2nd level spell that makes someone paralyzed, so you're being able to crit them. It immobilizes them. And this is a 1st level spell. Okay, there's maybe a power gap there. Okay, so let's direct our attention to another 1st level spell. We have a spell, one of my favorites really, called, what is it? Let me make sure it's the one I'm thinking of. Is Tasha's Hideous Laughter? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Maybe.
Yep, probably.
Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which is a 1st level spell that just makes someone fall prone and they're just wasting their turn. They waste their turn. They're not taking actions. They're not taking reactions. Blah, 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 blah. Then you have this. You have this that immobilizes somebody and continuously damages them while the entire time they're being immobilized. And the other spells, these other 2 that I mentioned, when you damage somebody, they're repeating the saving throw. This doesn't fucking matter. Stab to your heart's contents. Have your whole party circle around and unleash hell, because they're only making the saving throw when they take the psychic damage at the end of their turn. Why? What? Stop.
Yep.
This maybe needs to be a 2nd level spell, and I would like it.
Even then, I feel like it
Even
starts
then.
stepping onto phantasmal force a bit, which can very much be used like, they see themselves wrapped in chains and are now, restrained, and they're taking a d6 of psychic
True.
damage.
Very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. This
It's-
spell
it-
seems like it's just better than current options. It seems like it's a level weaker than what it should be, and sure, it maybe doesn't scale in damage, but what the fuck, dude? No,
Yep.
this spell is not balanced whatsoever. And mind you, it'd be one thing if they said, like, these specific psionic subclasses that we're putting out only can take these spells. But this is anybody can take. If your DM allows these, or if these get published, anybody can take. Your fucking wizard.
Yeah, so take them.
Your wizard.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? They're all
So
good.
take them. You might as well. Does anybody?
No.
You okay?
I just don't like it, dude. I don't like
I
these
don't
spells.
either. Can I? Okay, let me get angry now. All right,
Please,
are you ready?
please.
Because someone at Wizards of the Coast isn't paying attention, and I'm sorry. I love your game, but we have a published spell that someone in my game has. So, in this document, there is Mind Thrust. It is a 2nd level enchantment for a bonus action, a range of 60 feet, verbal and somatic. So this Mind spell requires you to move and also talk. Duration of 1 round. You propel a lance of psionic disruption into the mind of one creature you see within range. Must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, they take 3d6 psychic damage and can use its action only to dash or disengage on its next turn. On a successful save, they still take half as much damage and doesn't limit their action options. This stops them from attacking. Oh, that black dragon we're fighting? No, it doesn't get to attack next round. Cut to a published spell in Xanathar's Guide that Pafir has. Mind Spike. It is a 2nd level divination spell. Casting time 1 action. Range 60 feet. Components somatic. Concentration up to an hour. You reach into the mind of one creature you can see within range. The target must make a wisdom saving throw, taking 3d8 psychic damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. On a failed save, you always know the target's location until the spell ends, but only while the two of you are on the same plane of existence, and they cannot be hidden from you during this. Why do you have 2 spells that are you have Mind Thrust and Mind Spike, very similar names. One is a bonus action for only slightly less damage and keeps them from being able to attack.
Yeah.
And the other one
and
just
it's an int save.
Mind
So
Spike.
chances
And
are
intelligence
you have a
save,
better
yes.
chance to do
True.
more damage on
True.
average with this spell.
And you said Mind Spike just does damage, and
It's
you always know
3d8
the
damage,
location.
so slightly more damage, and you always know their location, which is only helpful if they try to flee.
Right.
This is they can only dash or
And you
disengage.
shut
They
down
can't
their
even
their
dodge.
next turn.
Yeah, they can't do anything next turn. It's a 2nd level spell.
What level is Mind Spike?
2nd.
Oh my
They're both
fucking
2nd level
God.
spells.
It's the same shit, but it's just better.
It's the same
This
shit.
one's
Just
just
better.
better.
That is the problem
Yeah.
with so many of these spells. They're like it's almost spot on to pre-existing spells, but they're just better for the same level. Like you would just, if you set this spell next to pre-existing spells, there's no reason not to take these new ones if they were allowed, because why wouldn't you?
Literally zero reason to take Mind Spike.
If-
Even the being able to locate them, or
What's
also
the-
if they become invisible, then like you know where they are. But still, that's so minute versus
What's
they
the
just don't get to
scaling on
attack.
Mind Spike? Is
Uh,
it damage scaling or?
Yes, it's for every level above, it's an extra d8. While on
And
this, if you
is
scale it
extra
up,
creatures
extra creatures.
To shut
So you
down
can
their
just
turn.
target and everybody.
Oh my God.
When you cast the spell at using spell slot of 3rd level or higher, you can target one additional creature for each spell slot above 2nd. They must be within 30 feet of each other when you target them. That means each one is also dealing an extra 3d6 damage. So while Mind Spike, you're doing an extra d8 of damage for a 3rd level spell. This, you're potentially doing an extra 3d6
Yeah,
damage.
this is just
for
an
one
AoE
spell higher.
spell at higher levels.
As a bonus action!
And a huge AoE at that. It's 60 feet to cast and then 30 feet within that person.
Oh, no, keep in mind, the creature must be in 30 feet of each other. I guess you might say that's within the initial one. I could, like, does that mean you can daisy chain them, though? Like, oh, he's
That's-
within 30 feet, then he's within 30
yeah.
feet, then he's within 30.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So there's one more that I want to talk about, and this one I don't know how it compares on a balance scale to other ones, but this one just fucking irked me as well. I had a problem with it. It's a 4th level spell called Ego Whip. The fuck is Ego Whip?
Well,
4th level
see,
enchantment.
That's like the ego and the id. They were trying to be
Yeah.
funny with that, and because that's like a
Gotcha.
a
Okay.
thing, but
Oh, so it is id. Okay. Anyways, so Ego Whip. It's a 4th level spell, enchantment psionic spell. That you need to speak when you cast it. Counts right up to a minute. So the thing with this spell is it's an intelligence saving throw, which again is the least proficient one for the monsters they're going to fight. Or suffer a disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. A massive,
and it can't cast spells.
massive penalty. Can't cast spells. Massive penalty. And at the end of each of its turn, the target can make another intelligence saving throw. But remember, this spell gives you disadvantage on saving throws.
Yeah.
What? What? Yeah, I'm giving you a spell that you have disadvantage to break out of from now on? Oh my god, that's fucking
least-
amazing.
Type of resist spell, and you have disadvantage.
Admittedly-
Good luck.
Admittedly, I didn't look up to see what other 4th level spells this fits on, so I don't
None of
know
them
if
do
that's
that.
None of them are going to do that.
Do that.
That is fucking great. That's such a massive debuff. And also, it's going to be so hard for them to break out. It's going to be so hard for them to break out. Unless of course, they damage you and you're doing your con save. But
when you're dealing damage to them and everything, they're not getting extra saving throws. It's only at the end of each turn.
Yep.
Right.
So, like, very potentially for the entire fight, it's just disadvantage. And
it's such a massive penalty for one spell. You could cleverly, with a well synergized party, be able to get most, if not all of these, through multiple uses of abilities elsewhere. But this is just one spell.
Oh my god.
Yes, it's 4th level,
hold
so
on,
maybe
I need to check something. I just realized something potentially ridiculous. Because you can take this as a sorcerer.
Yeah, all of these are available according to this document. These spells appear on the Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard spells. While you're doing that, because I know what you're about to... So, that was another thing I was going to say. While you're looking this up, so for id Insinuation, I do want to say that...
Oh my god.
I
figured it out.
Well, hold on. So for id Insinuation, should you allow this? There is one... Even though this spell shouldn't exist in the history of ever, or needs to be completely rechanged and releveled, blah, blah, blah. But anyways... We talked about how I feel really bad for you, Great Old One Warlocks, but if this was allowed, this is on your spell list, you can take this. When you hit level 14 as your Great Old One Warlock, and you can enthrall people who are incapacitated, at least you can cast this one spell and just enthrall them, because if they're incapacitated, there's no save, you just do it. So Warlock, by all means, take this ability if your DM allows it, because you just get to enthrall people for free, and they're just always your friend. So there you go.
Yep. Great. So Sorcerer has the meta magic they can pick, Heightened Spell. You can spend 3 sorcery points to give someone disadvantage on the initial save throw against the spell. So you can take Ego Whip, give them disadvantage to start, and then if they likely fail, because again, intelligence is one of the least likely proficiencies, they will continue having disadvantage. It's fucking ridiculous.
Holy shit.
And it's only 4th level, which is, you get a decent amount of 4th level spell slots. Oh, they managed to succeed at disadvantage intelligence saving throw. Okay, I'm gonna do it again.
You could be 7th level when you could use this ability. Okay.
It's fine,
Yep.
guys. Really,
It's
I hope that this this whole document gets completely revised before it is considered for another book. I hope that we just get a Scion and no subclasses. I hope for a lot of things. The
weird thing is, though, why would they go through all of this work to?
I know,
just
dude. I
all of a
know.
sudden
I don't
get
want to
like-
talk about how we might not get a Mystic. It's depressing, but it's possible. But I have loved the steady flow of content from Unearthed Arcana. I've loved so much that's come out of it. This and that class variance episode we did previously just are mind-blowingly out there in ways that I cannot agree upon in any way, shape, or form. Why?
Yep.
Anyways,
It's
everybody.
ridiculous.
Final thoughts. I think I've pretty much said everything I'm going to say without repeating myself at this point.
Overall, I think the fighter is okay. The rogue is okay, but a little weird. Wizard is ridiculous. And the spells are just I would not allow any of these except for the cantrip, which we didn't go over.
Fuck it. I don't want to go over it. I don't want to talk about it.
Is the one passable thing I would say, and that's even still a maybe. Overall, this document is troubling.
Just make a Mystic, guys. Just do it.
Please.
My final thoughts? No. All right, we're gonna cut to a quick break, guys, and return with our bonus action where we open up the floor to taking your questions and just talking about whatever the hell we want. So make sure to have those prepped. You can either ask them in chat or post them in our designated channel in our Discord. I need to go douse my head in water and cool down a little bit. But we will be back here in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Love you all.
Keep the discussion going.
Keep the discussion going, I guess, because he's saying it, and just
he's on board.
Just
He's giving in. He's
I'm so pissed that I don't care anymore. Just
Yeah,
DMs, I encourage you,
Joking.
don't allow this, please, for my sake. I'm begging you. And if you do, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just I'm salty, and maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Let's get the fuck out of here.